It is the 25th of November 1900 in the picturesque city of Kyoto, a cultural and artistic hub that had preserved Japan's traditional beauty for centuries. Nestled among rolling hills and ancient temples, Kyoto's timeless charm provides a rich backdrop to any child's early years. The narrow stone-paved streets winding past wooden machiya houses, the soft sound of temple bells echoing in the distance, and cherry blossoms fluttering like snow in the breathless spring. This was the world that greeted Takeji Asano. Born into a family that valued traditional crafts, Asano was immersed in art from an early age. His father, a skilled craftsman, worked in a local textile workshop, producing intricate kimono designs, a quintessential Kyoto art form. Young Takeji would often watch his father sketch elaborate patterns of cranes, flowers, and waves onto silk fabric. These early impressions etched themselves deeply into his mind, planting the seeds of his lifelong love for artistry. Kyoto in the early 1900s was a place where tradition and modernity intertwined. The sōsaku-hanga, or creative prints movement, was beginning to take root, urging artists to embrace self-expression and control over every stage of printmaking. While Asano was still a child, this movement sparked a shift in the artistic landscape, challenging the long-standing division of labour in traditional woodblock printing. This ferment of creativity undoubtedly influenced him, even before he formally pursued art. Asano's formal education began at a local elementary school, where he excelled in drawing. Teachers often remarked on his ability to capture the essence of nature with just a few pencil strokes. Kyoto's lush surroundings, its bamboo forests, rivers, and distant mountains became his living canvas. After school, he would explore these landscapes, sketchbook in hand, drawing inspiration from every season: the crimson maples of autumn, the plum blossoms of winter, and the fresh greens of summer. By his teenage years, Asano's talent had begun to bloom. At 15, he was apprenticed to a local artist, who introduced him to the fundamentals of Japanese painting and woodblock printing. It was here that Asano first encountered the tools and techniques that would define his career: the delicate chisels, the inky rollers, and the smooth blocks of cherry wood. The studio smelled of pine resin and ink, a sensory reminder of the labour and love poured into every piece. This apprenticeship also introduced Asano to the wider world of art. His mentor's library was filled with ukiyo-e prints, which celebrated the fleeting beauty of life, a philosophy that resonated deeply with Asano. He was particularly drawn to the works of Hiroshige and Hokusai, whose depictions of landscapes and everyday life bridged the natural and human worlds. By the time Takeji Asano entered adulthood, his path as an artist was set. Kyoto's vibrant traditions, his father's craftsmanship, and the stirring landscapes of his childhood had shaped not only his skills but also his artistic soul. Asano's artistic journey truly began in his early adulthood, when he walked beneath the ancient wooden eaves of the Kyoto City Specialist School of Painting, later known as Kyoto Municipal School of Fine Arts and Crafts. There, the scent of ink and mulberry paper filled the air, mingling with the faint traces of cedar and cherrywood shavings. It was here that he honed his craft under the guidance of the revered printmaker Tsuchida Bakusen, whose own hands seemed to summon ethereal landscapes from the very grain of the wood. Bakusen's teachings were poetic yet precise. He spoke of the soul within the wood, the way the knives should never fight against the fibres, but rather glide through them, as though whispering a gentle lullaby to the tree's spirit. With patient hands and an eye trained in the quiet discipline of his forebears, Asano began his woodblock carving. Each piece of wood, hand-selected for its tight grain and whisper-thin fibres, was cradled in his lap like a sacred relic. His blades, sharpened to a perfection that mirrored the moonlight, danced across the surface, each incision a verse in a larger poem. He carved with a slowness that seemed to defy time itself, carefully shaving away layers, coaxing rivers to wind through misty valleys, urging sakura blossoms to unfold beneath his touch. And then there was colour. Asano did not simply mix paints, he composed symphonies of pigment, blending his colours with a precision akin to a master calligrapher grinding his ink. He would press the mineral powders into fine porcelain dishes, adding just enough water to create a celestial sheen, the blues of an autumn sky swirling with the depth of the deepest indigo, the reds glowing like embers in a lantern-lit alleyway. His brushes were delicate extensions of his fingers, each stroke measured, deliberate, as though he were breathing life into a world that had yet to be seen. The first time he pressed the washi paper against the carved wood, he held his breath. He knew that the print would not merely capture a scene, it would capture a feeling, a moment suspended in time, an emotion locked between layers of ink and wood. With a careful hand he peeled back the sheet, revealing a vision of Japan, as only he could see it, gentle, eternal, and breathtakingly alive. This was the art of Takeji Asano. Not just wood, not just paint, but poetry born from patience and an unyielding love for his craft. And as his reputation grew, as his works found homes in galleries and private collections, his spirit remained etched in every delicate curve of his carvings, in every whisper of colour on paper, forever a part of Kyoto's artistic heart. Asano's talent soon took him beyond the quiet confines of Kyoto. By the 1920s, his works were being displayed across Japan, captivating audiences with their dreamlike tranquility. His ability to blend traditional ukiyo-e techniques with the modern sensibilities of the shin-hanga movement made him a sought-after artist. He worked alongside some of the finest printmakers of the era, often travelling to Tokyo and other cultural hubs to collaborate with publishers and fellow artisans. One of his most famous prints, Evening in Arashiyama, captured the play of twilight on the waters of the Katsura River, the reflection of lanterns flickering like fireflies across the surface. It was this mastery of light and texture that secured his place among Japan's foremost printmakers. Collectors and art enthusiasts eagerly awaited his next creation, and his reputation soon extended beyond Japan's shores. In the late 1920s, Asano married Mitsuko Yoshida. Mitsuko was an influential figure in her own right, and the couple worked together in various educational and social endeavours. Their partnership was significant in supporting their shared, deep appreciation for art and nature. Their home in Kyoto became a haven of creativity, where Asano could retreat from the bustling art world to refine his techniques. Despite his growing fame, he remained deeply connected to the quiet rhythms of his craft, drawing inspiration from the landscapes and changing seasons around him. As the 1930s progressed, Asano's work reached new heights. He was commissioned to produce prints that celebrated Japan's natural beauty, snow-covered temples, rolling waves beneath crimson sunsets, the delicate silhouettes of cranes in flight. These images, rich in serenity, resonated deeply with audiences at home and abroad. But as the decade neared its end, storm clouds gathered on the horizon. The outbreak of World War II in 1939 cast a shadow over Japan's artistic community. Materials became scarce, and the once thriving world of shin-hanga printmaking faced an uncertain future. For Asano, whose art had always been a celebration of peace and stillness, these were dark times. He continued to work, though his output slowed, his once dreamlike landscapes now tinged with an unspoken melancholy. As the world braced for war, Takeji Asano remained in Kyoto, quietly carving, painting and preserving the beauty of a Japan that seemed to be slipping away. Little did he know that his legacy would endure far beyond the turbulence of war, capturing a world forever frozen in the delicate embrace of wood and ink. After the war, Asano found renewed success and international recognition, but by the late 1980s, his health began to decline. He was diagnosed with chronic heart disease, a condition that slowly sapped his strength. Despite this, he continued working in his Kyoto home, surrounded by his beloved family and devoted students. Even in his final years, Asano's hands, though frail, remained steady as he carved his last prints. His children and grandchildren often gathered around him, listening to his soft-spoken words about art and life. His home became a meeting place for young printmakers eager to learn from the master, his legacy growing even as his body weakened. In the spring of 1994, at the age of 94, Takeji Asano passed away peacefully, the scent of fresh ink still lingering in the air. His final print, Twilight over Kyoto, was a quiet farewell to the city he had loved so dearly, a vision of temple rooftops bathed in the soft hues of the setting sun. Today, Asano's works are treasured worldwide, a testament to his unwavering dedication to beauty and craftsmanship. His influence endures not only in museums and private collections, but in the hearts of the artists he inspired. He may have left this world, but in every delicate line and every whisper of colour, Takeji Asano's art remains eternal.